time we'll go and call the meeting of the Madison County Fiscal Court to order. And before we get started, well, go ahead, Kenny, and then I'll.
Master King.
Here.
Master Barger.
Here.
Master Hughes.
Here.
Master Combs.
Here.
Judge Clark.
Here. I'd like the court's permission to amend the agenda to add the approval of the minutes of the last two meetings. We failed to put it on your agenda, and if it's all right with everybody, I'd like to include that. You have copies in your packet. So we're going into order of business, and first we will approve the minutes of the last two meetings. If there's no discussion, y'all have had a chance to look at those. A motion will be in order to approve both those as submitted.
So moved. Second.
Master King.
Yes.
Master Barger.
Yes.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Master Combs.
Yes.
Judge Clark.
Yes. Okay, the treasurer's report, we got that at the last meeting. And we're going into order of business. And first, as we look forward to every year, is our proclamation for Sarah Care Week. And I think Mr. Kennedy is here with us today. And Mr. Kennedy, if you'd like to come up and speak to us a little bit about how things are going, and then I know it's still getting better and better each year. And
it is, and I thank you very much. I had a chance to see a few of you before the meeting started. Norm and I are excited about this every year. For those who may not know, the Sarah Care Fund we created in memory and honor of our daughter, who, as a senior at Berea Community High School, where I taught all those years, she developed a very unusual, rare, and incurable childhood cancer. And she struggled for 10 months and passed away in March of '05 at the Kentucky Children's Hospital. And what we did was, the community had already planned to do a fundraiser to help Norma and me financially, and some money for Sarah for college. We were all very optimistic. And she took a turn and passed away before the event. But we went ahead at the encouragement of our friends who had spent so much time planning this wonderful event. And we had the event less than a month after Sarah passed away, and we started the Sarah Care Fund with that money. And then every year now we have another Sarah Care celebration. Many of you are there. Some of you have been my friends for so many years, and I know you're always going to be there. For those who may be here with us today in the audience and anybody watching on television, I'd like to invite you to this year's, which is next Friday night at Union Church, just across from Boone Tavern Hotel in Berea. And we have an incredible event planned. It always starts with a real family-friendly spaghetti supper, $5. It's not an all-you-can-eat kind of arrangement, but it's a good meal for $5. And then we have a tremendous raffle that runs throughout the evening, and we have incredible items. We have everything from all the wonderful craftspeople in Berea and Madison County to sporting events. Coach Cal signs things for me every year. Coach Mitchell, Mark Stoops, we have a football. One of the great things we have for all you sports fans, a lot of you know Kenny Davis, wonderful Kenny, who happened to be, for our good sake, the captain of the 1972 United States Olympic basketball team. And it was in that terrible year where terrorism actually came to the forefront internationally, and you'll remember that the Israeli athletes were murdered in that. And our fellows won the gold medal in basketball 3 times, but they gave it to Russia anyway. And you may not remember that, but that's an interesting film to take a look at. They replayed the ending of that game after we had won it. They replayed it a second time. We won that one. They came out of the stands, officials who had no right to do it or anything. Total confusion. It's an interesting film to watch now with some commentary. They came out with a third one, and on that one, it's kind of like one of those Christian Leitner shots. Long pass, tall guy, puts it up, and Russia won the gold medal. To this day, the United States Olympic basketball team has never accepted their silver medals. They just disputed it. They didn't appear on the podium, the stands, to get it, and all those medals are locked away. This past summer, Kenny, who many of you know, he organized a reunion of that 1972 Olympic basketball team for the first time ever. They all got together. And I had talked to him and asked him if he could get me a basketball, because I know we all love basketball. So he did, and I have a basketball signed by all the members of that Olympic basketball team. And it goes into a raffle for $10. You got a chance of winning something that very, 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 very rare. And we have a lot of other great things. Letterman trip, David Letterman's organization has been really good to us. We get special VIP seats in the front row of the balcony if you win those to go to New York. We have some out-of-town things this year that are quite nice, Nashville, Gatlinburg, that kind of thing. And I did want to tell you, we had an opportunity this year, and I'll go faster, out of the blue, and that's the story of Sarah that just continues to make me feel so good, Norma and me, and amazes me, is we were contacted out of the blue by a producer from Hollywood in the late summer and asked if we could come to Hollywood and tell our story on a national reality television show called Couples Therapy. It wasn't therapy for Norma and me. They had 5 minor celebrity couples living in Frank Sinatra's house up in the hills of L.A. They filmed them for a month, everything they did. And then they'd have these therapy sessions. Everything was recorded. We were asked by the producer to come out there, and in the 9th episode of the 10 episodes, they showed a video to those couples who are struggling to save their relationships and their marriages. They showed a video of Norma and me and our great friend Doug Johnson from Nashville, a songwriter who wrote the Rascal Flatts' big hit Sarah Beth Skin, amongst others. But that became our association. Doug told the story of how he wrote the story of his Sarah in his song, and Norma and I told our story. And the parallel between the song and the way it went in our lives and Sarah's life is just uncanny. So now Doug actually says when he performs this all over the country that this is our Sarah's song. He said, I always thought there was a higher purpose for the song. Now I know what it is. This song was for your daughter, Sarah. So Doug's coming back. He's bringing a Nashville crowd with him again. Lee Brice, if you love country music, do you guys know that name? Is it ringing a bell at all? Love Like Crazy, and he's got his song, Drive Your Truck, just went to #1 on the charts. Lee came to our Sarah Care and sang a few years ago when they were bringing in this new Nashville talent. So we never know who we're going to have, and that will be exciting. And then the producer of the series that we were on and the host of that series, they're flying in from L.A. to be there for Sarah Care too. So one of the things I would like for you to know is Fiscal Court is they absolutely are in love with the idea of what Madison County and Berea are doing. When I tried to explain to him the total commitment that we've had from our friends all over this county. I was a teacher for a long time, and when Sarah was ill, our support didn't just come from Berea. It came from everywhere, from all the contacts that Norma and I have had in Madison County and other places all the years. So they love it. They said they just got to come to Berea and spend the night with us. So I hope you can come over and see us. We'll continue our work with the Children's Hospital and some other things, scholarships. Primarily, we focus on families. We're not a research money group that goes to, research on cancer cure. We do it so that, God forbid, if you had a child who was ill, we will help you. We'll help you and your child. We provide meal cards, gas cards, motels. We do co-pays on medicine. We bought TVs with DVD players and VHS players. They're in all the rooms of the Kentucky Children's Hospital. We buy them games like the Wii games, and we buy art supplies, and that's what we do. Try to make the life better that day for a child, a kid, and a family. It's a long story, but I feel like I need to say a little bit about that every year, so in case you haven't met us, you'll know what it is that we do. But again, I thank you, Kent. I thank all of you guys very much.
I want to take this opportunity to wish you a happy birthday.
Well, thank you. 49. Hush. What'd you say? 60? I'll take that.
I know you did that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it so much, and that's what makes the quality of life of Madison County and southern Madison County that much special, because people really do care and they get involved, and they want to help other people.
That's great.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to read this proclamation. It's, whereas the Sarah Care Fund has in the past 8 years managed to enhance the lives of Madison County's children and all children in the care of UK's Children's Hospital, whereas the main mission of the fund is to provide support to the children and families at UK with simple comforts as TV combo units, drug copay assistance, and gas cards, as well as financial assistance to families who are facing the crisis of a child's illness. And whereas the Sarah Care Fund continues to offer scholarships to seniors at Berea Community and Madison Southern High Schools, and supports with donations to Hospice Care Plus and the Matt Ross Fund. Now, therefore, I, Kent Clark, Madison County Judge Executive, and the Madison County Fiscal Court do proclaim the week of April 14th, 13 as Sarah Care Week. This proclamation celebrates the generosity of our citizens that have contributed more than $80,000 in support, understanding, and compassion to fellow citizens of our community.
Thank you, Kent.
you
That's
very
well over 100,000 now, everybody. I want you to know.
And you can put this, I'm sure you got a drawer someplace.
Thank you
We
very
appreciate
much.
y'all so much.
Thank you, Kent.
Thank you. Okay. All right, next on the agenda is our Arbor Day proclamation, and I don't think Schrader could be here. I'll just go on and read this real quick. To all to whom presents shall come. Whereas the Commonwealth is blessed with diverse forests that extend from the mountains of the east to the bottomlands of the west. Whereas trees are a renewable natural resource that gives us many wood products. Whereas trees help provide clean air and water, wildlife habitat, and natural beauty. And whereas trees in our communities, moderate temperature, increased property values, and are a source of community pride. And whereas trees and forests are environmentally, economically, and socially important to the Commonwealth, now therefore I, Kent Clark, Madison County Judge Executive, and the Madison County Fiscal Court do hereby proclaim April 5th as Arbor Day in Madison County, and I urge all citizens to participate in the observance of this day by planting trees to beautify our Commonwealth and to focus attention on our great natural resource, our forest. We do this every year and work with the Forestry Service, and it's a really good deal. Next is open bids on the Scaffold Cane dump site. While Scott's coming up, we're trying to clean up every dump site in Madison County, and Scott's run into some that are just humongous, but I do want to note, and Scott can tell you, that we get support from the state on this. So Scott's been working with the state, and they've agreed to provide financially
75%.
75%, and Scott, because it was so big, decided in the money that we should go on and advertise and give different people the opportunity. We just don't have time to do it in-house with spring here and everything going on. So, Scott, I'll kind of turn it over to you now.
Okay, we discovered this dump in about 2008 and have been working on it ever since. We went ahead and applied for the grant funds and received those funds from the state, I think in January of this year. So we put the dump out to bid, and I had 4 contractors attend the pre-bid meeting and go over the criteria of the cleanup with us, and looking forward to reviewing the bids for the cleanup.
Judge, we've had a chance to open the bids here during the court meeting this morning. There were 3 bids, one of which was from MCM Demolition, the other from Chastain Enterprises, and the third was from Rick Childers. They were all properly sealed and received within the appropriate times, with one caveat. The bill from, or the bid from Mr. Childers did not contain one of the necessary enclosures. It dealt with a liability policy, I think. He had faxed that in to make that a part of his bid, and that was also received prior to the actual deadline. It doesn't have any effect on the bid itself. It was just one of the necessary enclosures, and that too was received within time.
Okay, so everybody on the court okay with that? All right, Scott, if you want to take those under consideration.
I will review them and come back with my recommendation.
Okay.
Scott, how many of these dump sites do you think is inter-county, like to the extreme?
Greg, that's a good question. I wouldn't want to put a label on it, but you know they show up from time to time. We cleaned up 2 last year, and then the grant funds that we applied were a reimbursement on those grants, and there's one more small one that we've got grant funding for to clean up as well too. I couldn't put an estimate on it, so I would just label it at that. So, well, with that, I'll get started on my update and briefing. I'm going to go over what we did in 2012 and then the first quarter data for 2013. I apologize for my delay on the 2012 data. I needed to get the final recycling numbers. And the way the recycling markets work, on some of the products, you don't get paid for them on about 60 to 90 days after you turn them in at the recycling facility in Lexington. So that's what my delay is about. So. I'm going to talk about 2012 road cleanup. Our office organized the cleanup of 548 miles. That netted 2,668 bags of litter. We were down a little bit last year, not as much litter. That kind of comes and goes. If you look at the statistics over the years, you can see a constant steadiness on litter. It never really goes down too much, but it can go up and down over the years. Obviously, I would have some statistics to go on 2013, but the past month of cold weather has kind of ruined March, when we usually get started on cleaning up the roads. With the colder weather, we didn't get a start, but we're getting a start at it right now, getting nonprofit groups out to clean up the county road miles. Loaner trucks. The loaner truck program, obviously a great program, free disposal out in the county. We come out and we park these trucks at your residence. They're for cleaning out your garage, cleaning out the basement, or just any kind of junk that you have piled up around. We're happy to set those trucks. They run on a reservation schedule, usually about 6 to 8 weeks out. If you called me today, we could probably get you one, I think about mid-June. So actually that's about an 8 weeks process. Those are set in 195 places in 2012, and so far here in 2013, we've set them in 45 places. Every time we set one of these trucks, everybody is so happy to get them, and they love the program, and you know, just a great asset for what we're doing here in Madison County. So, large item pickups. Large item pickup is also to include recycle bin pickups. We unfortunately, some of the recycle bins that we use do break, bust, and disintegrate sometimes. So we do have to pick them up and replace them and fix them. And so looks like in 2012 we did that 616 times between the large items. Obviously a couch, a sofa, a hot water heater. If you've got it, we'll pick it up for you. 2013 we're up to 96 pickups so far. Just keeping busy. Let's go over the recycling numbers. The 212,000 pounds or 456 tons, that is for the entire year. Our return funds are from when we purchased our truck and got it on the road towards the middle of May. We netted, or our return on the recycling goods was $29,410, and our cost to operate the truck was $28,265. So it netted $1,145 since May of 2012. Like I was mentioning earlier, the statistics or the payment for goods are sometimes 60 to 90 days out. In fact, I received our payment for aluminum from the city of Lexington for January. Received it in the mail yesterday. So, and I will brief you at when we got into the market in May, the recycling goods peaked in price. It's just like anything else, like the stock markets, the plastics, the metals, and all the other fibers are processed, are sold on an open market, and it can go up and it can go down. So we hit the peak right at about May, and then it bottomed out about August, and then it's slowly trickling back up. So the recycling market's looking real good. So far in the first quarter of 2013, we've netted 242,000 pounds or 121 tons. So everything's going good. Livestock removal service. 2012, we had 1,252 removed on record from the farms. So far here in 2013, we have removed 419 animals, large animals, off our Madison County farms. If you do that week per average, that's 29 a week. So that's roughly 6 per day. So great service. Only upcoming event I have is Kentucky River Sweep. That is scheduled for Saturday, June 15th down at the river. we'll be setting up over in the Pavilion Park. And we'll have a few more things this year. The Kentucky River Authority is wanting to set up some more informational booths about the Water Trail Alliance and a couple other things. So we'll be setting up for River Sweep June 15th. We'll be happy to see all of y'all down there and come help out, and we'll clean up the river a little bit on the Boonesboro Pool there. So, any questions?
Good report, Scott.
Thank you.
You want to just stay up?
I'll stay right here. About a month ago, we advertised for the, we received $50,000 grant funds from the Tobacco Settlement Fund to go ahead and purchase and build a new animal removal truck. I went through and we got 3 bids for the aluminum bed, one from Rush's Steel Fabrication, Rogers, and then one from Tebco. It's my recommendation that we hire Rush's Steel and Fabrication from London to do this job. I've met with Jeff Rush, the owner of the company, twice, went over his resume of work, and everything looks real good, and I think that we'll be satisfied with rewarding him the bid.
Okay, any questions for Scott? I know I told Scott to make sure that, you know, whoever he look at past work they've done with aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure, because it's a pretty tedious process of making aluminum.
Yes, sir. He was working on an aluminum bed when I went and visited him, Judge, and showed me photos, and he's did some work with Corbin Fire Department for tankers. So he's done a lot of work.
Okay, if no questions on Scott's recommendation, we can get our new truck on the road.
Hopefully they'll call from Georgetown and say we've got the chassis sitting in Georgetown, so we'll go get it too.
It's due any day, isn't it?
Do any day. In fact, I'm going to call them today and find out what it looks like.
So Scott-
Second.
Master King?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes.
Thank you.
Scott, thanks. Next is our, this is kind of our rural municipal aid that we receive from transportation. This is a percentage of the gas tax. We get this every year. Taxes are up, and this has been going up slowly but surely a little bit. Really, the initial apportionment to the county is 60% of its total allocation based on revenue. Estimates supplied by the Office of the State Budget Director, less 3% set aside for an emergency fund. The 3% we can participate or not, but we have collected in the last 7 or 8 years probably 10 or 12% of this fund in emergency funding. So it's been really good for us to participate in the Rural Road Aid Emergency Fund at 3%. For the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2013, the amount will be $1,034,786. This amount, when added to any subsequent portions and any unencumbered balance of prior apportionments to the said county, will be expended by the Kentucky Department of Rural and Municipal Aid to aid the county in the maintenance, reconstruction, or construction of county roads in said county. We're a little early on this, but we got it in early, and we thought we'd go on and get it approved and be one of the first ones to get it back in. So I'd be more than glad to answer any questions anybody has.
I know that the meetings was at, they said that fuel consumption was down a little bit, which could hurt it in the future a little bit, but I don't think it's down drastically or anything. I make a motion that we accept the contract if we need that.
Okay.
Second.
Master King?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. Judge's report, our surplus sale, and I think it's just old vehicles this time. Usually we've got a lot of other stuff, desks and cabinets, but it'll be April 20th out at Road Department South, out at the old Tri-State building out just past this 421 split. I think that starts at 9 o'clock, and
What's the date on that again?
April 20th.
That'll be advertised, won't it, Judge?
It's been advertised, yeah. Herschel's going to do it for us.
Okay.
And then secondly is the deferred comp agent will be in the courtroom April 16th, 17th, 18th, And anybody, all employees that participate in the 401 can come in, ask questions, switch accounts, do whatever they like to do. He or she will provide all the information that you might need. That's all I've got in the judge's report. Do we have any other department heads? Carl, you want?
It's been over 2.5 years ago, October will be 3 years ago, that we put in for a hazard mitigation program grant to elevate a residence out on Perkins Ashcraft Road. We got notification this week, we finally got approved, so it's just under $100,000 to elevate this home. It's a primary residence of some Madison Countyans. So we'll be working with county attorney to get the contract drawn up, because the match for this grant, the homeowner's providing the match. So we had talked about this, like I said, 3 years ago. It goes back to the May flood. But we're
Where's that located?
It's
Perkins Ashcraft.
off of Tates Creek Road.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 homes on it or 3?
Well, that piece of property we got the grant for only has one, but there are three pieces of property behind each other in a row. But this was the only one that got a grant.
Okay.
But Dwayne worked with us a lot, and Tom, and we finally got through all the hoops. So just probably most people had forgotten, but we were successful. So AE, the architect engineer, are doing their detailed building walkdowns today of the EOC right now with the group, so we can get on with our design work. And next week we have our big kickoff meeting with them and hopefully get our contract signed and get everything in full earnest on the AE expansion project for the EOC. So any questions from anybody or on the monthly reports or anything?
Why don't you bring the court up to date? Because I think a lot of people don't understand that you're vacating the current Emergency Operations Center for this work.
That's correct. Us, as well as the fire department, the county coroner, and the county rescue squad are all vacating the buildings because it will save us money in the long run by being out of the building so the contractors can work faster and not be working around all of us. But it is a big undertaking to move 4 departments out of the building permanently for 11 months or whatever. So we've got everything figured out for the most part. We've got a new home we believe that will work. We've worked with the coroner, rescue squad judges working on that, and as well as the fire department. And then my group, we're going to move our group down to Berea to the 2 facilities down there, the backup EOC and the backup JIC. And we've got a plan for that we've gone through this week and finalized. So it'll be a good thing. It'll give us a chance to exercise out of our backup facilities, which gives us points on our annual assessment from the state if you exercise out of your backup facilities. So it's a win-win. It's going to be challenging and stressful at some points, but we are still going to keep a couple staff on a rotating basis of some type up here in Richmond to handle the AAR radios and things like that, replacing the batteries and answering people's questions and things. So we'll have 2 staff up here permanently in the Joint Information Center every day so they can help people, and then the rest to be down in Berea. But that is our plan, and kind of excited, a little bit afraid, but kind of excited too. It'll be a good experience for us.
Where are we moving our fire department?
I'm still working on that. We're looking at several buildings. We really, Greg, need to leave them somewhere on the north end or the western side of town, or maybe even get them out in the county. But you'd think kind of the slowdown stuff, there'd be all kinds of buildings available, but there really isn't any. So we're looking at several options, but we'll have something in place by the time it's ready to vacate.
Some of the big challenges have been we found some buildings, but they don't have anywhere to put the equipment. So that doesn't work too well with fire department or rescue squad for that matter. All those diesels are finicky. They like to be where it's a little bit warm. And
Is there any funding through this to rent a place or anything?
Mm-mm. There's a possibility of working more with Kirksville and Whitehall on the north end, getting them a little bit more involved, and we're looking at some options with them, and then moving the full staff into Station 2 with maybe getting some space off Richmond for a skeleton crew just to keep a truck out there. We're looking at a lot of different options, but we'll come back to you all when we get something ironed out and confirmed.
thank you.
Any other department heads?
While Carl's, he's always sit down, but I meant to mention it before he sat down. He came to our church and gave a little presentation and walked through the church and told us what we was doing wrong, what we need to do different safety-wise to get so many people out of a big building in a short amount of time. And my church people were just terribly impressed with them, the way they conducted themselves and the way they put on the program. And I told him before this that I was impressed with him that day. And but they do a good job, and they'll do it for any of the other churches or buildings that wants them to come. But I appreciate you.
Thank you, Roger. That day we did the presentation, there were 9 churches from Madison County there, so it was a great turnout, great event. They'd love to do that a couple times a year. It would be fantastic if they would be able to do it. It was great.
Deal. Thank you, Roger. They do an outstanding job. Any other department heads? Sheriff? Kenny? Anything? Comments from magistrates? Greg?
Everything's going pretty good. Spring's in the air, warm weather, and I know there'll be a lot of work starting, and I just appreciate our staff, what they do, getting out and working and making our county look better and be more protected, and just the things they all out doing. So.
Roger?
We'll have another court meeting before this happens, but the Butcher family plant and flower sale, it's Friday and Saturday, April 26th and 27th, 8 to 5 on Friday, and 12 to 8 on Friday, 8 to 5 on Saturday. Appreciate everybody's help, and come out and buy your plants and flowers.
Bill Ray?
Yeah, I've been studying our jail situation, and Doug's been good to me and sharing information. And, we got, what we got today, 280, 270?
300 yesterday.
300. But, fully over half of them are what we call MDs, or Madison County inmates, and just roughly guessing, half of them's pre-trial, probably. And I know this House Bill 463 that was passed a couple of years ago, that was designed to get some low-risk pre-trial people out. And I just don't, and as I've studied, and I go on the Department of Corrections website and look at some of their studies, and it hasn't really rolled out as good as they'd hope.
I don't think it has either.
And so, but there's big opportunities in the pretrial release to really free up some space over there and reduce our cost as well. And, there's a lot of studies by the Pew Research Group that talks about these alternatives to incarceration. And I think there's some options that we can look at in terms of alleviating our jail crowding over there using some of this new research. But that's one thing I'd like to know is, what percent of our Madison County inmates are pre-trial?
Well, right now we have 72 state inmates.
Yeah.
Right now, I think we're at 280.
Yeah.
We had to send some off yesterday to Simpson County because we're on credit with that 300. We had 36 on our jail docket yesterday morning. Now, if you take the 72 state inmates that we have right now, which we were down, we were kind of at 40 there a couple weeks ago. 2 or 3 weeks ago, but we had some circuit courts, final sentencing, so that put us back up there. But again, we got rid of 10 yesterday just to make some more room, to have some more areas. But you got 200 in there that are waiting sentencing or the district court matters, or waiting to be trials or whatever. So.
Billy Ray, I got packets for you all, and I'm going to ask each one of you to come in, go over them. We've got the study, Robert Powell's study in 2004, that we need to look at because he is right on track when he did that. But show you like the numbers of when the state prisoners drop, what it means to us. Our payment from the state goes from $65,000 to $70,000 down to $35,000. If you take that number and Doug continues to add our prisoners and the state continues to take their prisoners out because of overcrowding, then, and I'll talk to you about this, and then I'm going to do a PowerPoint probably the next meeting, but just briefly is in 3 years, we could be supplementing that jail budget, the 2.3, and it'll be more than that by then, completely out of the general fund of the fiscal court. Because as we continue to go up in population, the state's going to continue to pull our prisoners. I mean, we can keep state prisoners, our people, over there, and keep 65 or 70, 75.
I'm thinking, we could probably keep 100.
Yeah, if we had the space. So it's something we really got to look at, and the study shows, and like I said, he's going on growth, population growth and stuff, and in 2020, we will have to provide 420 beds.
Well, everybody generally knows is this incarceration is not very effective at addressing the problem. And there's a lot of research that shows that there's mandatory intensive treatment programs that are more effective than incarceration, and we just need to make sure that we're...
Do you want to address this, Mark, or do you don't even
Sure.
get into it?
No. The reality of it is that you can't research this without first going to court, because that's where everything is happening. And you all have an invitation to go up there with me any day. Please come tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll do our preliminary hearings and look at what we see on a daily and weekly and monthly basis. And then you'll see where the problem comes from. With the implementation of 463, folks now are erring, the judiciary is erring on the side of letting people out. And it's amazing as a prosecutor how that you're trying to find ways to reduce the population rather than increase it. Because at the end of the day, the number one thing that you have to be worried about is public safety. And if you go up there, your company has been the victim of a theft before. And you were surprised at how quickly that person got out and wondering where the justice was. When you look at the big picture and you look at all of the stuff that's going on right now, you're just starting with such a great big number that even if a lot of people are released, you still wind up with a great big number. Again, yesterday we had 36 people on our jail docket, and almost every one of them were people that had failed to come to court to begin with. And one of the components of House Bill 463 was, rather than arresting people, you would cite people and ask them to come to court rather than make them come to court. What happens is they don't come to court, and then all of a sudden your problem actually is compounded because you have the substantive offense, but you also have the contempt matters for them not honoring the orders to begin with. So in some regards, it's actually increased. Somebody, 3 years ago could have been arrested for something, spent the night in jail, and released. They don't come to court because they're cited, and now you've got a problem which is grown. And again, yesterday, the vast majority of the people on the docket were people that had failed to come to court after previously been summoned or cited. I mean, it's a huge problem, and trust me, we are very much aware of the situation and try to take that into account in every single case. But more than a financial matter, we need to make sure that the public is protected and our community is safe. I think that's the number one role of government. And letting people out to save money and jeopardizing folks that they can't feel comfortable in their home, I don't think is a good equation. So it's a trick. And I don't know the answer. We're using home incarceration a lot. We probate people, we conditionally discharge people, we fine people, but there comes a point where certain conduct requires a jail sentence. And I'm not embarrassed or offended to say that. And I think we need to make sure that we don't lose sight of public safety when we talk about finances. But come to court tomorrow. We can sit down and we could look at these cases. And then, not that your opinion will be binding, say, what do you think? What do you do with this case? Do you let them out? Do you put them on home incarceration? Do you keep them in jail? What do you do? You're welcome. All of you are welcome to come anytime.
I'm not schooled in criminal justice, but all I can do is just look at the research, and they talk about that mandatory and intensive treatment programs, because so much of our incarceration is because of drug problems.
Well, but that's not. It's true, but it's not at the same time. There are not many people that are over in jail right now serving a drug sentence. Now, there are tons of people that are over there because of the underlying problem.
That's exactly right.
But now, there's not a whole lot of folks that are charged with some simple possession of a drug that are sitting in jail.
But that's at the base of it, though. There's a drug-related
You're exactly
problem.
right. I don't keep statistics because they're just numbers, and I deal with people instead of figures. But going away, almost all of the cases that you see up there are drug involved. People are whipping people to get them, people are stealing to get them, people are making it, people are selling it and destroying this community as a result of it. So the underlying problems, you're right, is the drug problem, but until you've got something to do with it, which right now we don't. I mean, the treatment is so weak, and 463 talked about treatment and gave lip service to treatment. The reality of it is there's not a whole lot there. We utilize drug courts a lot. We utilize drug diversion a lot. We utilize presumptive probation a lot. All these things we try to do to take into account. But until there's a better alternative, I think it'd be improper to set somebody free for financial reason if they put our community at risk. And again, any time come up, and I really think you'd be amazed because of everything that you read about in the newspaper or hear about, there's 50 things that are going on that you don't know about.
I know
And it's-
everyone over there, they look like they need to be there to me.
But again, I think it'd really be a fascinating thing. Of course, our courts are always open to the public, and I really don't think that you need a training in criminal justice to recognize we've got a huge problem here. And again, if you whittle down a huge problem, you still wind up with a huge problem. It'd be interesting to come.
Work on some of them. I know we're no judges or lawyers, but you take, whether it be the judges does it or it's law, people that behind on child support, they lock them up, put them in jail, and all we're doing is making them more of a burden to the county taxpayers when there should be some kind of program that they have to work and put that money.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't it?
What has to change? Legislation or?
Yeah, there needs to be more opportunities. Again, we'll use home incarceration to try to get people out and working. The reality of it is, if they're working, we'd be garnishing their wages to begin with.
That's what I think.
And that a lot of folks will come up and say, well, if I'm in jail, I can't pay. And you say, you know what, you're not paying to begin with, and your children are entitled to the basic services that we all have. And if you don't do it, there comes a point where the only thing you need to do is to have some type of punishment. You hope they get rehabilitated. We always review those cases. We want to make sure that we get them out, look at them at a regular basis, and sometimes you realize you can't get anything. But you've got to try because your children are worth it. And if you close your eyes to it, you're not doing anything to help the community.
Well, the part I see, and I know it's a big topic and subject, but we throw them in there for child support, and there's no way we're going to get nothing unless they got a parent or something's going to come in and go their bond. But and I'm sure there's other offenses that may be as minor, and yet there's no way we're benefiting from it because we're putting them in jail, and they ain't no way they're going to make money in there. And
But now, this isn't always for our benefit. There's a difference between beneficial to us and some type of appropriate punishment or rehabilitation of an offender.
Well,
I remember Judge Chenault used to always say that a chicken would bite off its own wing to protect its young. Children are entitled to these things, and if you've got someone that continually, you're not talking about somebody that misses a payment. If somebody winds up in jail on child support, by golly, they've earned it. They have repeatedly neglected their children for many, many months, if not years. And then again, it doesn't do us any good. But hopefully it'll do those children some good at some point in time.
Yeah.
But we're always looking for ways to try to decrease the population, but at the same time to effectively utilize the criminal justice system for the benefit of our community, for children, for elderly people. There's a lot of elderly people that are abused here. The drug crisis continually puts them at risk, and you've got to do something. But again, come tomorrow and have a look at it. And
I'm sure I know it's a problem.
I think it's important. I think it's important for people to really see just what's going on, because you might not really know the significance of what it is that. And again, remember, I have a very small part of it. Go upstairs on any day here in circuit court, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
It's just as we as a fiscal court and looking at it, the burden falls back on us as the taxpayers representing them and seeing that, sure, we want punishment, and I think it's a shame as county leaders or judges or whatever that we house them in a place and we don't put them out for punishment as work. Sitting in there, they got the best fine air conditioner, lunch program, beds. I mean, they might be overcrowded and some have sleeping floor, but they are took care of better than people that's out here struggling trying to make it. And I think as we looking maybe for a bigger jail, if we don't look for alternative of putting them out and working them, making them give back to the community. And I know the laws ties in where we can't hardly do nothing with them, but yet the burden still falls back here that we're going to have to upkeep them and take care of them.
Doug, how many people enjoy being over there? How many people enjoy being over there? Yeah. There are not a whole lot of people that are doing something to go to jail. I mean, you might think that they're being, taken care of better than maybe what they should be, but the reality of it is when you interfere with someone's freedom, it's kind of a big deal. And there's very few people that want to go out to do something to get in trouble. Cold winter morning, maybe. What are you going to do, put them out and freeze? I mean, it's hard.
But a lot of them is just repeated offenders. I mean,
Well,
the name, I'd say.
A couple things to address this, and we'll move on, is, Greg, your question is, if a guy won't work before he's put in jail to stay out of jail, then why would he go to work to get out? I mean, he's got the opportunity to work to pay his child support, and he won't do it on a constant basis. He refuses to pay.
And by the way, we have programs that help folks to where they can work on job skills, to work on resumes, to work on interviews, to try to get them employed. We work with the Foothills. They've got a wonderful program that we use in order to help folks do just that.
Well, I mean, a program I look at as far as with them as we could set up, and we could beat the horse to death. But the thing of it is we need some programs like where we can hire them out, and farmers come and get them, and then take them out and work them all day, and take that money and put it on the child support.
Greg, you're getting way out of track.
I'm just saying there's things that could be in place that would benefit. I know we're saying, but the thing, even as us, as a county government, come up with a...
But Greg, anybody that's qualified to go out and work goes out and works. They pay so much a day, $20 a day. How much is it, Doug?
It's $20 a day.
$20 a day. If the judge approves it, their boss can come pick them up, their mother, as long as they come back in, they get tested. How many people you got on work release?
Around 25 or 6 out working for the cities, county.
Yeah. And then we've got a halfway house in town with 80 that go out and work for the different municipalities.
I could have more, but I'm limited for bed space to put them in that area to go.
If you let them out to work, you still got to bring them back and put them to bed and feed them. So it's, and then Bill Ray, you're talking about all this rehabilitation. The last time I checked, that there was a waiting list of hundreds of people on any free rehabilitation drug clinic. Unless you got $1,000 a day to go someplace, there's not really an option for that. So who gets stuck? Now, I'm going to be the first one to say, is it fair? No, it isn't. But the law states that the county will provide a satisfactory jail and minimum requirements, and that's heat and air and TV. But those that can work, get out to work. We're doing the litter program, but you have to understand when you start getting too many, there's just so many that are allowed by law to get out to work anyway. So, Roger used to take advantage of that at the ferry. So, I mean, we are doing, especially Mark and the judges, his office, are doing everything to get everybody we can out. But, folks, we're growing and growing and growing, and as we grow, so does the jail population, and it isn't going to cease anytime in the near or far future. So we just have to look at what we've got to do to provide a jail.
Like, just for example, we're Scott's awarding a bid for picking up that dump site. What kind of laws keeps us from taking 20 or 30 of them out there and working.
Greg,
and then,
they're not qualified to go out and work.
what qualifications does a prisoner need?
Well, it just depends on what they're charged
Go over and
with.
pick up garbage. I mean, you know.
No, they're not qualified to leave the jail to go work. It just, and then it's up to the judge, the prosecuting judge, whether he feels like they're a threat to the community
I
or,
wouldn't want to, no way, endanger somebody going out. But I know these other states, some of them has patrols. And I know it's something we're going to have probably a lot of discussion about before we decide to build a $4.5 million jail addition. But the thing of it is we need to work out some of these things and see if there's any alternatives that we could use.
we've been working on alternatives. Mark's office, the judges, been working on alternatives for years and years and years. And it's one of those things where if we want to keep talking about alternatives and we don't want to do anything about the problem we're facing over here, then in 3 or 4 years, you all can sit here and vote to double people's property taxes and see how fair that is. Because that's what it's coming to. I mean, the bottom line, but I've got numbers for you. I've got a packet put together with study. I've got all the things for you, and we'll be meeting with you individual basis, and then I'm going to try to put a PowerPoint on over this exact situation by the next meeting, hopefully. So, Larry, you got anything?
Well, until the law changes, state law changes, there's nothing we can do. Mark hit the nail right on the head. If a guy don't pay his child support, you put him in jail. Will he pay it if he gets out? No, that's the reason he's in jail in the first place. So how do you correct that? Put him in jail. Sometimes you get their attention, sometimes you don't. So, I don't have an answer.
It's
I
a
agree with
no-win
you.
situation.
It's a no-win. I agree with Greg. It would take a long, long chain to tie them together and get them out to work. I don't know if we can afford that much chain or not, but it would be good to see them out working, yes. But state law doesn't permit that, so do the best you can. I have one thing, and the fire chief, if you come up front, Judge, on this ISO, when they were here, everything is wrong. Let me tell you why I say everything's wrong. For instance, Battlefield. We've got people that live in Battlefield that is under the jurisdiction of Red Lake. And it's rock distance to our fire department. And their insurance is based on that. We've got people on Smith Lane, Wilson Lane, same way. What is the answer? I get calls every day, I know you do.
About every day, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. We send the maps in. We've sent in, I know, at least 3 different maps explaining the districts in the last 2 years. My answer to all that, if you have an issue with the insurance, call me up. I can look up on my computer. I got an arc reader that measures out the 5 miles. It tells what districts you're in. I can write a letter, and so far every insurance company has took that and went with it. So if I say that you're within a certain distance and so close to a hydrant, they went with it so far. I don't know what to do with the ISO. I don't.
But Larry's question is, you shouldn't have to be writing letters
That's
for
what
each homeowner.
That's what I told
I
him.
mean, when they look and you've got 300 homes within a rock throw of a fully manned fire department.
I know.
And they put you, and, it affects you, goes what, from a 9 to 11?
Oh, it's unreal.
So goes to a 9. It should be a 4 if they're back in the battlefield. Yeah.
I mean, and there's a lot of people out there that really, they don't know that until, it seems like everybody's insurance must come due this month.
Exactly. I think that every month.
I get more complaints. But one guy's, he was up almost $600.
Mm-hmm.
And he said,
Well, I'm hearing horror stories. I mean, I'm telling you some really bad stories. But we can try to put the maps in again. I've actually talked to him on the phone for like hours at a time. But I don't know the answer. I don't know what's going to make them straighten it out. I really
A
don't.
particular insurance company or a couple?
No, it's actually ISO. It'd be your insurance service.
well, some of the insurance companies go by that and some don't. I mean,
You're
they're all
correct.
different.
You're correct.
A lot of the floods that we had too brought them in as raising their insurance premiums. I know mine jumped almost $1,400 just, and
Yeah, but that was flood insurance.
that's ISO.
What would,
ISO rating.
That's what would be the answer.
No, it
for
wasn't
that.
flood
I mean,
insurance.
to get them to come back.
That's just being in the ISO rating as a ISO rating number 9. if you're 5 miles away from a fire department, or if you don't have a fire hydrant in your
But you gotta have
community.
fire flow.
Yeah. So they go by all that, and, you know, mine personally, I fussed with my companies, and mine jumped almost a little double, but, you know, and it wasn't nothing to do with the flood insurance, so that's just the ISO rating.
I get the same calls out of Baldwin and Newby right now.
Believe it or not, I get way more calls that we're able to lower their rating as far as, you know, than I do the other side, but, you know, I still do, I get both sides of it, but, you know, we do everything we can to, you know, to close it
I know
in.
you do, and I appreciate that. And like Kent said, you know, it shouldn't be that they have to call you every time something like that happens.
I agree. I mean, sometimes 4 or 5 times a day, yes.
I don't know what the answer is. I don't think I can tell them is call the chief. That's all I tell them.
How do you get to make them understand that you got a fire department within seeing distance of houses that's on a
They're-
fire department that's 5 miles away?
They're tough, Roger.
You
It
know,
takes
out
2 or
in
3 years to
Battlefield
get them
and
in
our fire
here.
department, There's no
Yeah.
excuse for that. I don't have the answer, but,
I mean, we had them in here just a year and a half ago and went through all this, and you see what happens. It just don't make it to where it needs to go, I guess. But I mean, I understand they take care of the whole United States. I understand that, and we're just that little chunk. But you know, you'd think they could somewhat get it straight, but you know, evidently not. But
As long as they get them premiums, they don't worry about it.
well, so really, I guess the only answer is just say, call the fire chief.
just call me. I don't care.
I hate to do that, but
It don't bother me. It's my job. I
there's
feel.
some people out there that's paying it and don't even have no idea.
Tim, we can't afford a secretary, so next time you come in here,
I tell them to call you.
don't ask for that.
I'm giving them his mobile number.
That is a good comment.
24/7.
That's a good comment.
But other than that, Judge, I'm just glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here. Anybody from the audience like to come up?
Can't believe Debbie.
If not, I guess pay the claims and approve the transfers, a motion will be in order.
Second.
Master King?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Move.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.